Sports. So hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Simulation Super Bowl Challenge. My name is Chris and I am joined by my brother Nick, and to start off we're going to take you through the retirees of this year. You can see here Emmanuel Sanders, Jason McCourty, Gostkowski, Brady, Staley, Dustin Colquitt, Rivers from the Texans, Ryan Khalil, Roethlisberger, Dwayne Brown, Fitz is gone, Richie Incognito is gone for me, Aqib Talib, and for Nick, DeMar Dotson, and Corey Peters is gone. And so that's the retirees. Next thing you will hear is who we are choosing to re-sign. So to start off, I have re-signed Dorrance Armstrong to a 4-year pretty small contract, so we're happy to keep him around as a good backup defensive end. We are also going to try and re-sign Zaire Franklin here. We have a few outside linebackers who are up for contract, and although he is not the greatest player, he is probably the best of them, and I do want to keep him around. He's only 25 years old, so a 3-year deal. We'll see if he takes it, and he will, so we keep around Zaire Franklin. That is it actually for my re-signings, which does mean we are letting go of Zay Jones and Jonathan Hankins. The thinking with Jones is that he wants about $6 million a year, and we have Hunter Renfrow, we have a lot of receivers in that sort of mid to high 70s that I'm not really looking for. I think we're looking for more now a number 1 guy as opposed to a bunch of number 2, number 3 guys. With Jonathan Hankins, we have a good replacement already on the team in PJ Hall, who is I think only 1 overall worse but like 4 years younger, so it makes sense there to let him go. And aside from that, there aren't too many great players that we're letting go. As you can see, this wasn't a big time to re-sign, and let's just check. We still have $53 million in cap room. We can also probably make a bit more with some cuts that we'll want to make. And so those are my re-signings.
And for me and the Cardinals, the only player I have interest really in bringing back is Patrick Peterson, but he has regressed quite considerably, losing 22 points there. But I think in free agency, the other teams won't really offer for him, and I can get him for a cheaper deal just for 1 year. And the rest, I will either bring them back for cheaper in free agency, or I will just let them go. The only player I'm thinking of re-signing is Justin Harper here, who I can give a decent deal to just as a backup lineman. And he doesn't want to stay anyway, so we'll see what we do about that.
So we trade away LaMarcus Joyner, who had a big cap hit but no penalty for getting rid of him, to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 4th round pick. Again, we do try and keep this realistic. I'm sure the Jags probably would have given me a second because they have a high interest in him. But we do want to keep it as realistic as possible, and considering this is pretty much a cap dump, I might have even got them to give me a little too much. But we get a 4th round pick for LaMarcus Joyner. We have also traded away Colton Miller for a 3rd round pick from the Browns. Colton Miller had given up 30 sacks in his last 2 seasons, which obviously I don't consider good enough, and I think there is a tackle that I want from free agency. So we're going to heavily go after him instead and replace Colton Miller, who was pretty woeful last year. So having gone through the list, these are my desired players in the first part of free agency. So let's go through them. DeForest Buckner, first of all, will fill not really what is a need. As you can see, we've got Hurst and Hall there, who are okay players, but would give us a sort of standout player on defense. Following up with that, Will Fuller would give us a standout receiver, which is something that I'm desperate to have. It's the reason we let Zay Jones go. You see there we've got Renfrow and Pascal. They would make a nice 2 and 3 with Fuller as the 1. I'd be quite happy with that trio at that point. Javer Woods, after we traded away LaMarcus Joyner, obviously fulfills a pretty big need and is a decent player who's a scheme fit. Taylor Decker, after we traded away Miller, fulfills that role. He's a pass protector. He's the one I was talking about before when we traded away Miller. We're giving him quite a big deal because he is sort of the only real option for us. going down the list, Corey Linsley, I would probably move to guard. And again, a scheme fit, he's just on a 1-year deal. That's why his points is pretty low. Anzalone, there isn't too much competition for now. He's 26. He's a field general with decent coverage skills, so I'm pretty pleased if we could get him. He would probably have to move to outside linebacker, but that's fine. And finally, Andy Dalton to be a backup QB who can compete with memes and come in if we need him to.
Now to the Cardinals, and we have traded David Johnson, who was on a massive deal, as I'm sure we all know. We take a $3 million cap hit but save 12, and the Chiefs will give us a 4th round pick. One move I've made here is moving Birdlaw as the Defensive Rookie of the Year to defensive tackle. He's now an 83 overall there, and Zach Allen will fill in at right end, who also had a really good year. And Arik Armstead will be our left end. Hopefully we can get some more depth there in free agency. And here, cutting Robert Alford will save us so much more money than he is worth, so we will be cutting him. Onto the Cardinals free agency, and Marlon Mack is the highest overall player here. It's not a massive offer, but we're seeing if maybe we could get him just to bring him in for an upgrade at running back that would do us some good. Chidobe Awuzie, not Awuzie, is the guy we're going to be paying the most if we can bring him in. A decent offer there as Patrick Peterson. I would have brought him back, but this is just as expensive, and there were bids for him as well, so we couldn't really bring him back on the cheap as I had hoped. Derek Barnett as well could come in and hopefully drive Quantavius Bingham to improve. Hassan Reddick is a very cheap deal here. Tyrone Crawford would be good depth at that position for 1 or 2 years. Jake Butt is a solid tight end who'd be a good backup. And Artavis Chamberlain, who doesn't look great on paper, but the ratings there aren't as bad as I would have thought. There's no real massive issue there for a 23-year-old. I would consider drafting him. Well, I definitely would draft him if it was a later pick, and the Chiefs have let him go. So I just thought maybe a cheap deal would be good. And then quite a few cheap deals here for just backups. Bortles, I'd like to see him come back because he's just a quality backup, I guess. Who should not have been taken 3rd overall, but what are you going to do? And here we are in free agency week 2. The highest accepted is Derek Barnett, which worries me. Hassan Reddick accepted. Oh, okay. Jerry accepts, Awuzie accepts, and Crawford accepts. The one player I'm not seeing there is Marlon Mack, so let's check who else is bidding there. No one. Okay, so he just hasn't decided yet. We are the only bid on all of these players, so I'm pretty sure we should be fine in terms of who we're bringing in.
Boom, 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 boom. I want you on my team, DeForest Buckner. He is here as well as Corey Linsley, but Decker rejects our contract. That is a shock. If you would have said anyone on this team was coming here, I would have picked Decker. I gave him 107 or 8 offer. So that one is a shock. We also get Woods. We got Will Fuller as well and Anzalone. So overall a pretty good haul, but not Decker, which I'm not super disappointed in considering we got everyone else, but I'm kind of surprised. I want to see where he went, how he went to someone else. Let's take a look. League signings left tackle. The Chargers went 105. I'm pretty sure we went 107. But yeah, these are the available left tackles left. I suppose we could also look at the draft. So now we have a bit of a need there at left tackle. So I added 2 new players to the Raiders. Starting off, we put on a pretty mediocre bid for James White here to be our second running back for 2 years and basically, be a better pass catching back than McKissick, to sort of go in a 1-2 1-2 punch with Josh Jacobs, and I'm pretty excited about that. And also Dalton finally accepted our deal to be our backup QB, so now our QB room is Memes and Dalton. Not the most exciting deal of the day, but one that I'm pretty comfortable with, and I hope he can be at least decent if he does have to play.
Back with the Cardinals, and Bortles signs, Hamilton signs, Jake Butt and Marlon Mack. He has not signed Marlon Mack, but Marlon Mack has signed. So we're filling out the squad quite nicely. So in free agency week 4, we do get Chamberlain here to potentially start a right tackle. It wouldn't be ideal, obviously, as Chris doesn't seem to disagree in the back. And we got Lancaster here to give in some good run stopper depth at defensive tackle.
So to close out the Raiders free agency, we added 2 linebackers, Mark Barron and Beckwith here, who will be depth players for us, just to fill out the linebacking core, which was lacking in players after we lost quite a few to free agency itself. And so with that, the next thing you will see is us talking through our draft boards. So here is the Raiders draft board. This is me, Chris. Nick is outside of the room, and I've got just you and me here talking about our draft board. But first, I'm just going to talk you through what I deem as our needs currently right now on the roster. Our biggest need, I think, is left tackle 1. We definitely need a left tackle. I've also got here a backup left guard, a backup right tackle, potentially what have I done there? Potentially a defensive end as well, a starting defensive end, a backup defensive tackle, and a starting cornerback potentially as well. So with those needs considered, this is my current draft board. As you know, this team wants to be built around wide receivers, and what might be surprising here is we have 3 second rounders as our top guys. And remember, we have the first overall pick, as well as 3 second rounders, 2 third rounders, 2 fourth rounders, a 5, 6, 7. So plenty of picks, but these 3 are going to be probably my 3 first targets. And considering that my top of my board is a second round projection, I'm going to be wanting trade out of probably pick number 1, which normally you get offers for pick number 1. Almost always you will get offers from the AI for it, and normally they're actually pretty decent offers where you can just trade down a couple spots, still pick a player. And in fact, I might trade down and trade down again, use all those extra picks to go and get even more players in this draft, because I think if this is a good draft, which I think it's a pretty good draft looking at it, I'm hoping to really knock this one out of the park. And it starts with Gilbert Stamey here, who is an early second round talent, but projection, but early first round talent. He's a good route runner, and he's got good catching skills. He fits pretty much exactly what we want to do. He's not the quickest, but that's no big deal. He's got a pretty decent combine apart from his speed though, which isn't terrible, and his vert jump wasn't great either, but we want to be in that short passing game, and he fits exactly what we want to do. So I'm very high on Gilbert Stamey, and I'm sure Nick is as well. I'm not sure what Nick's scheme is, so I'm not sure if he would have known about Javonte Moody, who is an early first round talent, exceptional corner, great 40-yard dash, great bench press, B plus zone, B plus awareness. That's hard to say. Fits pretty much everything we want to do. Looks like a great player. I will be targeting definitely. He's definitely someone we need to get in the first round, despite him being a late second rounder. And then Xavier Barrow isn't actually a early first round talent, but I think fits us better than any of the other tackle prospects. He's a late second rounder again, and a pass block. That fits us perfectly. An A minus pass block finesse. This is exactly what we want in a tackle prospect. Fits our scheme beautifully. We're going to be passing the ball a lot, so I can't really ask for anything better than this. Also, a pretty good combine from him. He's not the top rated tackle. There are some other tackles in this class who are early first round talents, but I think he is what we want. What he does fits us best. So I'm very excited for these 3 prospects, and I'm hoping, because they're all second round talents, that I can bring them all in. Going off from that, there are some other players that we could consider. Will Keith here, tight end, is the projected #1 overall pick. So if we wanted to pick at 1, Will Keith could be the thing. Obviously, we've got Darren Waller. It would be fun to just, go 2 tight ends, and I'd have to probably build a playbook just based around always running 2 tight ends, which would be fun. Don't get me wrong, it would be fun. And I'm basically choosing between, if you think about it, Keith and Stamey in a way. But I'd rather trade down and get Stamey than pick there and get Keith. If we trade down to say 5 and Keith is still there, we might go in, but there's other good tight ends like Frederick Belser here, who's also an early first round talent with some A- catching traffic. He's only 21 as well. Pretty quick, good combine. So it's going to be an interesting decision what we do in the first round. Really, it all depends on what the trades are. Going on from there, we have this is ordered for the first round, by the way. I have literally ordered it in terms of who I would pick. I think DeMarcus Carson could be interesting. D-tackle, not a great need, but outside rusher is, and I wonder, with A- finesse moves, could he play on the outside? Pretty quick. He's only 6'2", 286, so he would be a heavy outside rusher, I suppose, but not terrible, I don't think. Barber here is a safety, again, not a terrible need, but not a position of strength for our team either, and he's a mid-first round talent with a very good combine. Someone to look out for. Here are some of the tackle prospects I'm on about, with Dobson and Blaylock. These I think are both early first round talents. So there Charlie Dobson, as you can see, and also Blaylock is as well, but you see that they're run block focused mostly, so they don't really fit what we're trying to do. There is also this man, Russ Felton, who is a late first rounder, projected in the 4th. I'd be quite happy to pick up him as well as another depth corner, with B zone and B- awareness, pretty good, and some more pass rushers or defensive linemen, here in the 3rd that are both late first round talent projections, as well as Rashad Cheek. And aside from that, that's where the first round talent ends for us. This is someone I'm quite excited about though, Kyler Arnold. He's an early 2nd round projection that's projected in the 7th, so he'll probably end up being a pick for us somewhere in the 3rd or 4th, I project. And yeah, that's our board. I'm really excited to see what we do. I could be quite aggressive with the trades in this draft because we do have a lot of draft capital, and especially if we trade down from 1, we should have an absolute bounty of picks, but I don't think we need depth. I think we just need star players, and so I'll be looking to get into that first round maybe 2, 3, 4 times maybe. That's what I kind of want to target. I kind of want to target a trade down, and then we can already trade back up with our 2nd round and 3rd round picks for a 2nd, and then maybe use whatever picks we get from the first pick trade down to get back in for a 3rd first round pick. That's kind of what I'm looking at, to pick up these 3 and maybe even 1 more. So that's been my draft strategy laid out. I'll let Nick tell you about his.
So this is the Cardinals draft preview as I take you through the team, which I'm feeling pretty good about, considering the talent that we have. QB and running back should not be an issue for a while. Receiver as well, I will re-sign Christian Kirk next year, so he will be on the team for a while and be our star receiver, with Robbie Anderson also there. I feel good about receiver. I don't think I'll be drafting any. Same thing for tight end. The problem comes at the O-line, where we don't have a right guard on the team. We have Artavis Chamberlain at right tackle. I'm not sure he's quite good enough to start. That run block finesse, pass block finesse, and then the 2 run and pass blocking isn't good enough to play right now. Justin Pugh, he didn't play well last year, but his ratings are better, which means he has a better chance of starting. So we're probably looking at bringing in at least 2 O-linemen. Gaillard actually played alright last year from what I can see from the stats, but the run game wasn't great last year. But hopefully a few more additions there can sort that out and he can continue to play at centre. Armstead there, Zach Allen will start, Crawford will be the backup at left end / right end. Defensive tackle, we brought in Lancaster here, and Birdlaws will start, and I'm expecting some good results from that D-line. At linebacker, I'm feeling really good. Chandler Jones, Hicks here, we could bring in a linebacker, but I'm not sure there'll be anyone who can actually perform better. I moved Reddick inside. He has the stats for it, and I'm not sure if his zone is good enough, but that's really my only real issue with him being a starter there. I think he'd play better than Brown, probably better than Hamilton as well. Of course, Jerry Styles can always come in, but I'm not sure he's that good of a player. We have Derek Barnett here. I moved him to outside linebacker to be our pass rusher here. He'll split the snaps with Bingham, and we'll see what they can do. I'm feeling really good about cornerback. Murphy will play, Awuzie will play, and then in the nickel I'll bring in Buda Baker, and Jalen Thompson can come and play in safety. Von Bell here, who's now a star dev. We've got him for a while, so I'm feeling good about that, with Deontay Thompson being a solid backup. So I'm really looking at just linebacker and then O-line, and that's pretty much it. I'll see if I can bring in maybe a few more backups, but it looks like tackle and guard will be our biggest needs for next year. Now onto the draft board, I'll take you through position. I'm sure Chris has already shown many of these players, but Xavier Barrow, if he falls to our pick in the second round, which is the 15th pick of that round, which I doubt because Chris will probably take him first, I would snap him up instantly. But the other players that we'd consider in the first round are here: Charlie Dobson and JT Blaylock. I'm not sure which one's better, I'll figure it out later on. And also here at guard, if Brody Barker fell to our pick, maybe Gary Snell. We'll probably go much earlier because he's projected early first. But Abdul Sanders as well, early first projection, and not quite as good as Gary Snell there. There's later round options here, so if we need one in the second round and the tackle isn't there, we would take Kyle Nicky. Marquise Glover at left guard would be an option later in the draft. And we have Jose Bruton and Tyron Briggs who are 5th round projections, who would be good talent to get there. There's also Drew Farahany, who has the strength to play, but that's the only thing that really stands out about him. And there's also Charles Robbins, but you got to be careful with these later linemen because they tend to be quite unbalanced. But the thing is here, the lead block, pass block finesse and pass block power are good, which makes me think he'll be quite a well-rounded player. So hopefully we can pick him up as well later in the draft. But I'm thinking taking 2 linemen first. Charlie Dobson is projected late first, so maybe. And JT Blaylock, so one of them I would be very happy with. At other positions, you see here there's Tim Gunter, who's probably the only player at left end I would target because we're not going left end early. He has some good strength, good hit power, pursuit and tackle, so a good run stopper there would be good depth. There's Jermichael McPherson, who we could also bring in, mid 4th projection, B+ finesse moves, late first talent. Looks like he could be a good option if he's there in the 3rd, because you want to draft a first round talent in the 4th, in the 3rd, because they don't tend to fall, and there's always in this series there's going to be another player trying to pick him up. And here at defensive tackle, I think the only player I would want is Kyler Arnold, who had the best speed of all the D tackles, 8th best bench press, and A- finesse moves. I'm not sure what his talent is, but I may have to take him in the 5th or 4th if I want him, because you can never be sure of what the AI is going to do. I'm not sure if Chris knows about him, but his combine 6.2, so he probably does. Outside of that, there's always other players such as Jaden Lowell here, who you don't know his pass rush move, but play rec is there as a B, which you like to see because that develops a lot slower. And there's Rashad Cheek, but I'm not sure if we'd go with a defensive tackle in the first 2 rounds. There's DeMarcus Carson, who looks like a beast. I'm guessing he's only a mid-first talent, but his combine would tell me that he's probably going to have a good dev trait. Of course, I've been wrong about that before, such as in the most previous draft. Leon Washington would be my pick for a linebacker. I would see if I could get him in the 4th, because we do only have 2 4s because we traded our 3rd last year for Quantavious Bingham, and that hasn't quite worked out. There's other players that I'd consider taking. There's not a lot. There's Roy Jameson, who's an undrafted prospect, so I could probably get him in the 7th or 6th. As a mid-4th rounder, that's a good choice. I think my later picks are already pretty much locked in with him and Charles Robbins. I'm not sure there's anyone else that would really challenge those spots. And outside of that, safety is just so strong. Pardon the pun. Although his combine, that's quite impressive, but I'm not sure we would take him. So that's going to do it for our draft preview, and that will be the end of this episode.
So let's begin the NFL draft, and you can see that the Raiders do have a trade down option, and I said that this is something that we would entertain very much so. Let's take a look at these potential selections. It is the Minnesota Vikings who are offering us pick number 4, another 1st round pick, and a 2nd round pick in next year's draft. And I can tell you without hesitation, we are going to take that offer without even caring about who I could select instead. So we will trade down to start off this draft and see who Minnesota selects, as we'll get through these first picks to get to number 4. The Vikings go with Abdul Sanders, so they trade up to 1 to pick up a guard. Not sure that would happen in real life. As then another guard, Gary Snell, as we live in a bizarro zone of guard off the board. And then Tracy Spain goes at number 3, leaving us with this selection at 4. The tight end's still there. We could trade down again. I talked about the possibility of doing that. The offers this time not as appealing. We could go down to 25 or 30 in this draft, which could happen. Would I be okay with moving down 21 picks for a 2nd and a 3rd? Probably not, I'd assume. But then it is interesting choices to be made here. We could pick. We could go and get Will Keith. I'm gonna need to think about this one. So, with number 4, after much deliberation, I'm not gonna trade down. We are gonna go with Will Keith, who was projected number 1 overall. He's an early 1st round talent. I doubt he'll be number 1 in actual true talent. I would guess somewhere around the 4 to 5 range if I had to guess. But here we go. Will Keith is the pick at number 4, and he is 7th overall. But that's good, because that means this draft class is good at least. And we hopefully will be getting more good talent in there. But he is hidden, and that's really what matters. You know, Nick is in the room, so I won't mention who, but I'm pretty sure he knows about him. A certain receiver, who's a 2nd round talent. He is early 1st, but he wasn't guaranteed to be hidden, and so therefore he could have been, you know, a bit of a threat. So we're happy with Will Keith. Here are his ratings. He can't block, but that's fine. He's, you know, decently quick. The tight end ratings are always a bit interesting because they're never, you know, fully green, and they never look great. But he is a 77 overall with 78 trucking. But pretty low injury and toughness there, not the best. So hopefully he doesn't get injured too much. But I'm pretty happy with the pick. Hidden dev, hopefully superstar, maybe even X Factor. And we can run a lot of 2 tight end sets with him and Waller. We're going all in on that. So that's the pick. So we're gonna just go through the first round selections here at a pace. Nick does not want to trade up, so away we go. Eagles on the clock. They go tight end as well. And there goes Ruby Hood, 78. As this draft turning into a good one. Purcell was a bit worse than our pick, so that's good. Whitlock there, 74. Haven't seen too many busts yet, which is good to see. Belsa was even better though. Belsa, 78 overall. Hopefully he's a worse dev and we got the better of that, but a good pick by the Ravens. Shock. As Nick gets close to the clock. Another tight end. This was the tight end draft. I think, was that 5? 5 already. 2 guards at the top, 5 tight ends in the top 11. It's an interesting draft. Next, Barber. He was a good safety that I think I mentioned on my breakdown. Then Niles Cleary, and 1 pick before Nick. Here we go. It's Johnny Royal.
So after that, I'm very disappointed that Johnny Royal's gone, but let's see what offers we have. Obviously, I'm not actually disappointed. I'm not trading with the Seahawks, especially when they have a pick coming up. There's no real offers here because we're in the 2021 draft. I'm not trading down to 52 from pick 15. Chris is telling me to do it. I'm not going to do that. I will pick a player here. I have an issue here. I will only be able to take one of these O-linemen that is here. There's Brody Barker, who okay, I'm not sure I would take him here, but there's the 2 tackles here. Charlie Dobson and JT Blaylock. They both look so good on paper. Dobson's got an A run block though. A- impact. A- run block power. It's all run blocking, but the scheme here is power, but do you draft for scheme or do you draft talent? He had the 5th 40-yard dash. The first bench, 41 reps is really appealing. The 5 cone's really good. The shuttle's good, the jumping's fine. I'm not so concerned about the jumping. Difference is with Blaylock, he's very agile. And probably the better athlete, I guess, if you consider his strength isn't much worse, but his agility and jumping is much better. So I'm going to have to think for a second about this pick. So considering Charlie Dobson is the younger player, I am sure hoping that he has a hidden dev. And he is the pick. And he is 80 overall, but normal dev. 80 overall. He is the number 1 player in the draft. I told Chris that I'd be drafting the number 1 player here. I didn't think he'd be that good. And his pass blocking is better than I thought it'd be. We can work on that early. He'll be a focus player because why not? And let's hope there's more of that to come.
So, what will the Raiders do here? We'll take a look at our trade downs. I highly doubt we will trade down, although we are in 2021, remember. Considering the picks that we've got, I see no reason to trade down. And we are going to pick here. We're going to make our selection and pick up the player who's going to fill our biggest need. And that is Xavier Barrow, who has a pass block and will fit our scheme very well. So here is Xavier Barrow, and he is a 76 hidden. Good choice there. Number 10 in true talent, and this draft is already much better than the last one for both of us probably. 86 pass block is pretty monstrous coming out, especially with hidden dev. He'll be getting even better. Good injury ratings as well. So a very good pick for us there, Xavier Barrow. He's going to lock down that left side for us, hopefully for a long time. Well, we traded up. We picked, and now we are trading up to pick 34 for our 2 second rounders and our second 4th round pick. So we're using our picks here to go and get the guy we want, and the guy we want is damn good and fits our scheme, and he is going to be our cornerback of the future. It is Javonte Moody. He's an early first round talent, and so with the second pick in the second round, the Raiders get Moody, and he is a 78 overall hit, and this draft has been knocked out of the park. Boom! Let's go Raiders! Now that I've calmed down a bit, you can see Moody's ratings here. 94 speed, 80 zone, 76 play rec, 79 press. His tackling needs some work, but I'm super hyped about this draft. This has been super good. His awareness is 78 as well. This is a great draft class so far for the Raiders.
So after that, the talent kind of falls off, so I've just let it sim ahead to my pick. And the player I think I'm going to take, I will take a player here. Unless there's a third round pick, because I could use with a third in this draft. A third and a fourth from the Jets is intriguing, but I'm not sure if I will do it just yet. You know what? It's the 11th pick of the third and the 11th pick of the fourth. And for the value here, I am willing to take that. And with that pick, they take Garrison Pope, a classic Jets pick there, trading half the value in this draft pretty much just for that guy who will not really contribute anything in the future.
For our selection here, we are just gonna go Elijah McGee. It's an odd name. 20. Is it Muggy or McGee? I'm gonna call him McGee. Why isn't it an A then if it's McGee? We're gonna pick Elijah here. He's a late first round talent and he is a projected third rounder, so he's probably gonna go pretty soon. We can see he's got B power moves. He'll probably be a backup end at this point, but that's okay for the third round. Here he is. 71 overall, true and trusted, normal dev. Decent pick. What do you expect? That's the third round.
So now skipping ahead to our third round pick that we acquired from the Jets. And I think Jermichael McPherson will be our pick here. B plus finesse and a really good combine. Hopefully a hidden dev player. He is not, which isn't a shock. He's as good as Bingham, I'm pretty sure. He might be better. In fact, his ratings already look better, to be honest. And he will be a good backup, maybe, just maybe. Outside linebacker could turn into a starter one day.
You know what? When you're in a draft with multiple humans, you can't pass up talent. And here's the talent. Kyler Arnold. 7th rounder. But a good player nonetheless. He is our pick. And he is 70 overall, which is quite good for what we were looking for. I did say I needed D-tackle 4, which he will fulfill, and then some. So our D-tackle room is pretty stellar right now, it must be said. There is his ratings, very good finesse moves, decent speed and strength. Maybe a bit lacking there, but a pretty good pick there in the, what was that? Late third. As we will just go to my 4th round pick, which is coming up right now. So for our next pick, we are going to go with Demarius Small. He isn't the top tackle in terms of talent, but he is the best scheme fit for us, and he is an early 3rd rounder. So I think he will be the selection. So for our next pick, we are going to go into the undrafteds. As I say, when you're with a human, you can never bet too much, because obviously Nick could also take Charles Robbins at any point, and he is a scheme fit pass protector. You can see 2 of his top ratings there are pass rated abilities. He is a late 2nd round pick, so he is the pick. Charles Robbins, he is 68 overall, a nice depth piece on our O-line, and I'm quite happy with that. A trade has been made as the Raiders move up for 2 7ths, of which we have 3. And a 5th round pick to get the Eagles 4th. And with this selection, we will take a backup running back here. Darrell Hale. Hale! He's a late 3rd round talent, but as I say, I want to bring in the best talent I can rather than just a bunch of depth pieces in this draft, and Hale is a 66 overall player, but the best running back left in the draft, so I'm pretty happy with it. His catching could use some work though.
Now on to the Cardinals' first of 3 4th round picks, and I'm not sure which order I want to do this in, because there are some players I'd like. There's Leon Washington, probably the best of them at linebacker. But then there's the 2 tackles here. I think Bruton would be the guy I want to bring in. He just had the slight edge in terms of the combine. And I think here, because of the need, he will be the pick, just to make sure I don't take any risks. And he's a 67 overall. Normal dev. It's not terrible, but at least it's well rounded. Low 70s, high 60. He's got 80 lead blocks, 77 impact, 71 awareness is good to see. The rest of the ratings, they need a bit of work. And now with this pick, Leon Washington has fallen to this spot, so it's an easy take of him. He has A- hit power, A- tackle, which is nice to see, and a good 40. So there's some good skills to work off there. He won't be good enough to start just yet. But maybe in a few years we can build on those talents he already has. He is normal dev, which you don't want to see, but 83 hit power, 82 tackle. I'm quite happy with that. It's mostly the awareness and zone that brings him down. But other than that, a pretty decent player. 85 injury though. That's the thing you got to watch out for. But in a few years, I think he could be a potential starter if he can maybe up that dev tree. So the next pick was a slight reach. We get another backup pass rusher here with 75 finesse moves. The block shedding will be an issue in the run game, so I'm not sure how much DeMarcus Lacey will be able to play. But for the talent, he's only 1 pick back, so not much of a reach. Don't feel too bad about it. And now into the mid-5th, as Chris's next pick is the start of the 6th. I'm really not sure what to do here. Let's see. There's Roy Jameson, who for the talent, really good combine. Mid-4th talent as well. Good play rate, good awareness, which is always nice to see. Well, not good, but it's his top abilities. I'm guessing he's going to have some issues, but I don't mind taking this player here. As he's a 65 normal dev, I can't complain about that. That's pretty much like 5th cornerback level for us, but his tackling's no good. His press is also just bad. But the man and zone, if we could improve that, I think he could be a good backup.
With our 6th pick, we're just going to take the guy on the board. And that is Randall Flemons, a mid-6th rounder here. What can I say? He's a player. He's a football player. He's 61 overall. Not the best, but it's a 6th round pick. That's what happens.
So here in the mid-6th, this is what our board looks like. And yeah, Winslow, he had a really, really good combine. Well, for a center. I'm not sure how many centers there are in the draft, but it looks good. I just mustn't have scouted him. So I'm going to take him anyway. He's the only guy on the board. Oh my goodness. Number 446 out of... I'm not sure how many players there are in the draft, but that seems worse than that number. 446. He's 49 overall. I'm not sure about his future on this team. His injury isn't even good. I should apparently start him. 48 run block power, 58 finesse, 58 yeah, let's forget that pick. Decent impact block. Decent. It'll do.
So with our last pick, with no one on our draft board, all the scouted players are undrafted talents, so I might as well take a punt here on someone with a good combine, and that is Houston Halen, a strong safety. So let's see what he can do. Not much, not as bad as Nick's pick, it must be said. I don't think anyone could pick anyone worse than Nick's last pick, but there you go. There's Houston Halen. Probably won't make the team, but you know, you might. I think at that point, what's the point in taking someone who's undrafted? You might as well just go out on a limb.
Say hello to the new tight end. That's right, I said it. Tight end of the Cardinals. He's 21. He's got the strength of a tight end. He's got the height of a tight end. It says he's undrafted for a receiver, but let's see how good he is at tight end. I'm not expecting much here. 54 is better than the center, but we'll see if we move him. 67 catching is better than Billy Cool, and he was 5th for Rookie of the Year last year, so it can't be that bad. Better injury than the center. Everything's better than our previous pick. I'm quite pleased with that.
So just to end a quick recap of both our drafts, this was mine. Here's Will Keith. He was our pick at number 4. Remember, we traded with the Vikings to get their first and second next year, so we're pretty excited about that. Then it's Xavier Barrow, our left tackle. Oh, these are all hidden depth for our first 3 picks, by the way. A good left tackle who fits our scheme very well, and then we traded up to go and get Javonte Moody with the second pick in the second round, and he as well, 78 overall, great pick there. So pretty excited for all these 3 players. Going later on, we got some depth pieces here with McGee, Arnold, and Robbins. Hale as well as a sort of fourth running back. And then 2 guys who'll be vying for positions on the practice squad, probably in Flemons and Halen.
And the Cardinals draft looks like this. Afterwards, 80 overall Charlie Dobson. Very pleased with him. Outside of that, you have McPherson, our 3rd round pick, after we traded with the Jets. Looks like he'll be a backup linebacker. We'll see if he can develop. The same is for Bruton here and Leon Washington. DeMarcus Lacey is also backup depth at pass rusher. Roy Jameson might develop. He's got the physical attributes that I'm looking for. Decent play reckon awareness, so hopefully if we keep going with slot, it can improve that man and zone real quick. Brian Winslow is the worst pick I have ever made. It was solely based on combine, so what do you expect? And Gerard Jacobs, I will see how good he is at tight end and get back to you. So after moving to tight end, he goes up to 62, which makes him more fitting of this pick. I did think he would be more of a tight end at that spot. But yes, now that the draft is over, that is the end of this episode. So stay safe, stay inside, please, and goodbye.